welcome to a very exciting episode of Trailblazers Rising. With me today, I have somebody that I've been following on social media for a period of time, but time does not actually exist, so don't ask me how long. And she is the neurodivergent astrologer herself. And I'm going to apologize and warn you ahead of time that we're going to talk about entrepreneurship, but it's probably going to get real far into astrology with this one. So buckle up. Let's get ready. Colleen, say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for having me today. It's so wonderful to get to chat with you finally.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm ready. I'm excited for this. I have questions that I ask every single person. So we'll just get those ones out of the way and then we can go get this train off the tracks. First and foremost, what sparked your entrepreneurial journey? What was that point in time where you were like, fuck this, I got to do my own thing?
Oh man, it was a kind of a tornado that started in like nobody wanting to employ me for anything, like I was a restaurant career person, but that was no surprise there, none. I think honestly, I think the restaurant industry is kept alive by people who don't know they're neurodivergent and don't know how to, take care of themselves appropriately. And so alcohol was keeping me through that career. I had to numb all of my sensitivity and whatever, and like every day. It was really bad.
Are you talking about my story or are you talking about your story? I'm confused.
I think it's a common one, the neurodivergent community. I do, And so kind of like the year before COVID, really, I'd attempted to get out of the restaurant industry a couple times. And those I got fired for, wait for it, being too detail oriented. And I wouldn't find out I was on the autism spectrum for 3 more years.
Wow.
And so that just wasn't working out. And then special interest, I took to it. I'd always loved astrology, but then when I discovered the birth chart and how, when you first read your birth chart, you're like, oh, wow, there's really something to this,
Yeah.
It's like, it's you on paper in the stars and I felt like I was home. And so I got kind of addicted and it helped me change my life. It helped me give up alcohol for the most part. It helped me just start to feel like I was here, like all this assurance and validation that I'd always been seeking externally, like I could do for myself finally. So yeah. And then it was like, I sort of for years really struggled to get it off the ground. I was also in the throes of like a major depression and identity crisis and whatever. And COVID hit and it was like, well, there's no restaurant industry anyway, so let's just keep rolling. Yeah, it felt like a vision quest that might not make a lot of sense for a long time. And then thankfully, finally, really was learning what neurodiversity is. And, I'd known about my ADHD for a long time, but never taken it seriously. And then discovering, probably autism too, and realizing that's what I was really using astrology for, was to manage all that stuff. And then it clicked. Like all of a sudden I was like, oh, I can make this business work. I know how to help people. I know who I'm helping finally,
Yeah. Oh, God. So Christina and I were actually talking about this. She's my business partner and the head of everything over at the Neurospicy Academy. And, she's woo adjacent. I am very woo. And we were talking about how does what we know about ourselves affect how we show up, and how alienated we feel affect what we end up pouring all of our time and energy into. And that real pipeline of, oh, okay, ADHD, take a pill, go be normal. And then you're like, wait a minute, wait. So hold on. So when you take the pill that makes me able to do the executive function things, I still own wrong over here, so I feel like I'm missing out on something. And the analogy that makes the most sense for me is, it's like you have a stick shift and everybody else has an automatic, and nobody is willing to take a look in your car and see that your hardware doesn't look the way everybody else's hardware does. But from the outside, they're just like, no, it's easy. You just drop in, drive, and then we hit the gas pedal and we go. And you're like, but I'm telling you, there's another pedal down here that you guys aren't talking about, and then there's this thing over here. I don't think it's. And they're like, no, it's just the same. Just figure it out. And I'm like, but I don't think you understand. It's not the same.
That's the best analogy I've ever heard. And the 12th house of hidden blind spots, potential mental illness, mental stuff, it happens to be affiliated with heavy machinery, i.e. cars. So there you go.
Did you know my sun in Taurus is in my 12th house? And I know that that's a big major thing, and it has a lot to do with my relationship with my dad.
Or
how that actually manifested and how I can understand it better.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Well, the birth chart. It has all the answers. You want to know what's going on? It's follow the path in your birth chart.
Absolutely. Your actual updates on TikTok are ones that I send to my business partner and life partner now, I guess, Christina. I'm like, get ready. get ready. This is what's happening. She explains it better than I ever could. So when it comes to running your business as an astrologer and a neurodivergent entrepreneur, trying to find that balance between creative flow and energy and then strategic flow and energy and perhaps the more boring things. Because we know an ADHD nervous system is an interest-based nervous system. So if we're interested, it's going to go great. If it's boring, I don't want to do it.
Right.
So how do you really walk that line? How do you find that balance?
Yeah, and YouTube has helped me with that tremendously because YouTube's the thing that I was the most afraid of really putting my face on camera, right? Because I'm 37, so I'm approaching my 40s. I have all these wrinkles I never had before. And I'm like, oh, great. And every camera, every new phone they come out with, you can see more of the wrinkles. It's a lot, but it's like the YouTube stuff was the stuff I didn't want to do for so long. Those daily updates that I love now that my clients make me swear I'll never get rid of. I put that off for a long time. I paid a really expensive business coach I never should have. She promised to, give me solutions that would help me to continue to avoid the thing I just knew I needed to do, But as soon as I just bit the bullet and started doing it and realized I was helping people, it was a wonderful sort of symbiotic process of saying, okay, I don't love this aspect of it, but I can learn to love it. It's also in my chart that I should love it. So I had to kind of develop a love for it. And then, but it requires a ton of energy, a shitload of courage. And so what I started doing and found really works, I actually got from a Huberman Lab podcast episode about habits. And so it's about implementing one or two habits that work and giving yourself time to adjust to those, giving yourself time to read your own energy and what you need to produce that, right? And then once I get comfortable, I get used to something, then I layer on another. And so that's been my process so far. And then, of course, there's balancing YouTube and content creation and clients, right? Because that's really where I'm making my money now. I think eventually YouTube will start being more financially lucrative, but not yet. So I'm really dependent on those clients coming in the door. So, it's about, I think I got it from you actually, systems over, structured routine and habits. It has to be a system. There has to be wiggle room for your energy to fluctuate. And thankfully, I can track my energy fluctuating with the moon and what I do for a living. So yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's a good system so far. And yeah, I don't plan on quitting anytime soon. I can't because nobody wants to pay me for anything else,
So when I realized that I needed to go into mindset coaching, right? I had been working on my mindset since about teen because I had this moment where I went, I was in a very busy restaurant. I will never name the name of it publicly, but a lot of people know what it is. I was in a very busy restaurant. I worked there for 5.5 years before I quit and went full-time with my business. And it was in 2018 that I was like, I'm just going to start replacing my anxious thoughts with grateful ones and just see what works out. I knew I had ADHD. I didn't know I was autistic. And I was still of the mindset that with ADHD, you either take a pill or, you self-medicate with caffeine. But like you, I was drinking all the time, I literally, the amount of wake up at 6 a.m., get the kids to school, go to the gym. I was getting my degree. I was working in the evenings, I can't even go to Walmart and Target in the same day now. And I'm just I don't know how I used to do that. Right. So there was a lot of that coping. And I just said, okay, well, this is all just anxiety. So if I just stop being a bitch, it was all overstimulation is what the fuck it was. I was in a loud restaurant with go, 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 go. They would sit you 4 tables at a time. There was no flow to it. This restaurant is known for just putting asses in chairs.
Right.
And getting people to order off a very large menu.
Right. Well, people treating you however the hell they want, however they feel that. I think the dirty business we're talking that I think will come to the fore in the next couple of decades about how the restaurant industry is really so much grosser socially and creates behavior in us that is so not okay. But anyway, we won't go on that tangent.
It really breeds an environment of coping, not thriving.
Yeah.
Suck it up, deal with it, go drink, go smoke your cigarettes, whatever it is, that sort of thing. And so once 2020 hit and my mom passed away from her 18-month battle with stage 4 head and neck cancer, and I was on TikTok, so I was like, yeah, audio about ADHD, honey. What do you think this says? And then I started treating my ADHD with accommodations and lifestyle support. And then autism, babe, what do you think this means? Are all your videos on TikTok autism? My husband's like, no. And I was like, what? Okay, huh? And so I really just started diving in, and I was like, okay, so mindset work is one piece of the puzzle. I got to regulate my nervous system. I have to fix my environment. I have to accommodate my real struggles with executive function. And I don't know about you, but out of the 8 key executive functions, working memory is the one that I struggle with the most. And I forget what I'm saying mid-sentence all the time. Because it's like I'm trying to balance and like wrangle all of these great ideas and thoughts that I'm having. And one sentence leads to another thought, but that's not part of the same one. And it's like I'm trying to hold on to all of them. So I personally use notebooks to write all of my stuff down. I take notes every time I'm talking to somebody. I have notes from the last person I was interviewing. Because sometimes people will just say words and I'm like, oh, I like that word. I wouldn't have even thought to use that one. So I write it down. So when it comes to, I would imagine, working with a one-on-one client and like reading their chart and remembering all the things and being able to keep up with the brain that's going so fast. How do you do it?
Well, so one thing I learned in my autism assessment was I actually have an incredible memory, which I'm so thankful for after the decade of alcohol abuse.
Yeah, right. Lucked out there.
Yes, seriously. And so that tends to be okay for me. So I have my Venus and Taurus in my 7th house, directly opposing quite a lineup in my Scorpio 1st house. So working one-on-one with people has always been a strength of mine. And so when I have a person's chart in front of me and when we're in, thankfully, like the Zoom thing is wonderful for me because I'm not picking up on all the physical energy that I normally would be. I can just focus on you and what you're saying and, and what's in your chart and what seems to need to come out of your chart for you. So working with clients is great. I can relate with what you're saying more so in the experience. It's like I kind of put a lot of faith in whatever higher powers out there that like my nervous system is so activated because it's so much pressure, right? That what I'm about to say like needs to inspire people, needs to relate with a huge audience of people. It's a lot of like sort of channeling and trusting that what's coming out of my mouth is what people need to hear.
Yeah.
And I got this from somebody named Victor Otto. I don't know your woo so openly. He's a pretty woo dude. He's a Cancer like me.
Victor Otto?
Yeah, ODDO. Him and his wife have a podcast. They're both very woo, but they're very well meaning and they're both in recovery. They met in AA actually from their heroin addictions way back when. But I found him very early on in my journey and I think he's a Cancer like me. He said, when he's producing content, sometimes he'll produce something that he's like, I don't know. But his rule of thumb is if it's he posts it. And I just love that. Because if it's coming from your heart, if it's sincere, you can trust that somebody out there needs to hear it. Like somebody's in a dark corner thinking they're alone. And if they hear that you've been through it too, if I get one person, I've done my work for the day, because you've been in that place of darkness, feeling so alone, only to learn like, oh, it's neurodivergence. And there's so many of us out there with it, who were born to parents with alcohol problems and trauma, who probably are super neurospicy too, and will go to the grave not knowing it, but I'm content or determined rather to, change that generational trauma, all of that. So,
let me try and get this true and correct. I am 37 as well. And this year, especially this past maybe 12 months, I have come to understandings about how traumatic my childhood, or I don't even want to say how traumatic my childhood was, but how many traumatic events occurred that I did not know were traumatic at the time. And the thing that made the most sense to me and that resonates with everybody when I tell them is that the reason that we don't want to compare our traumas with anybody else is because trauma is not the severity of the event or situation that makes it like how traumatized you were or how much it affected you. Trauma and how deeply it has affected you is by how alone you felt when it happened.
wow.
So, if you felt super alone when you were 12 and your grandma died and nobody told you what the fuck was going on and you went all the way up to, Tampa for the funeral, but nobody told you that you needed a black dress for the funeral. They just assumed you were going to fucking know
that.
And then you have to go to the mall with your pissed off parents and your sad sister because and you're just like, whoa, wait a minute. For one person, that wouldn't have been a super traumatic thing, but because you felt alone in it, it was a life marker.
Yep. Wow.
So
I have to say that's like one of the most important functions of working with clients I find now is like, I get people who feel a pull to work with me. And then I'm like, okay, so you got Saturn and the moon in a tough aspect here. How was mom and dad? How was growing? Oh, no, it was great. They gave me everything. Everything was good, but I'm so unhappy. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to dig in a little bit more here. And then it's like, they wind up just regurgitating things that they thought were normal, but didn't feel right. And I'm like, you need to stop and honor that. That wasn't normal. You have a right to acknowledge you have trauma, just like everybody else, Just because it looked good on paper doesn't mean it was okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we all know that look too when you're telling somebody, like I have been married to my husband for 17 years.
Wow.
And just when you think that you guys have told every story that's ever happened to you ever growing up before you ever met each other, I'll tell them a story about my childhood. And that look on their face where they're like, what the fuck? Where you can see the whites of their eyes on the tops and the bottoms of their irises. And you're like, oh, so that wasn't Evan. Everybody didn't do that. That was just okay, great. Good to know. I'll keep that one in my back pocket from now on and make sure not to bring it up around, people I don't know at a party. So,
but I hope it's the opposite. Like, I hope that these younger generations, get to experience the opposite. Us all coming to the fore with this shit happened to me and I don't think it's okay. Did that happen to you? We got to start talking about this stuff if we're all ever going to be okay. The biggest threat to society, per my favorite psychologist, he's long gone. His name's Donald Winnicott. I think the holistic psychologist does a good job of, reiterating a lot of his work, but the secret biggest threat to society is shitty parenting, is unhealed trauma from child. If we could all acknowledge our pain, we'd be a much happier world.
Well, and the good news is, moving forward as millennials, I think it's just a millennial, and I know it has a lot to do with our Scorpio Pluto.
Scorpio,
but
yeah,
millennials
exactly.
are really pretty much the ones that are like, it stops with me. Yeah. However, it has to stop with me, whether it's how I raise my kids or the fact that I just won't have any more kids from this fucking lineage and it just won't be able to perpetuate anymore. It really stops with me. It's so refreshing when I see because I have 4 generations in my home. My husband is a Gen X. I am a millennial. Our oldest is the youngest of Gen Z, and our youngest is the oldest of Gen Alpha.
Wow.
So we have so many different perspectives in the home. And these kids, they're different fucking kids, man.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing affects them the way it used to affect us. Everything kind of rolls off their back, and they're really open about everything. They don't care. I remember as a millennial, it was all, what's your sexuality? Are you bi? Are you this? Are you that? These kids don't worry about that. They say, what do you want to be called?
Yeah.
What do you want us to refer to you as? And who do you like? Oh, you like people? Cool. Great. Excellent.
No problem. Be who you are. Great. It's acceptance. Yeah. I just I get comments sometimes, what it's like being on social media. Everybody's got an opinion about everything. And it's, I'm dealing with one right now that I'm not sure how to respond to, or if it even warrants a response. And just saying, oh, it's so doom and gloom out there, you can't change them. This person sounds like the 88-year-old in my building who, it's fuck the stupid people. Sorry, I probably shouldn't say that word, but
why not?
Okay, I wasn't sure about house rules, but I should have, anyway. So I think what I love about the younger generations and where they deserve so much credit is climate crisis, perfect example. That's something they have to face. It's a reality for them that it isn't for us the older we get. We can't just say, it's their F it. I'm just going to hate it and walk around with that, hate for it. It's no, it has to be acceptance. It's a reality that needs to be acknowledged. I don't know. I don't think they get enough credit for their level of acceptance and all the maturity that comes with that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let me ask you this. We're going to get real personal here.
Here we go. Open book here.
I realized that alcohol was no longer serving me in November of last year. So I'm pretty recent to the no alcohol journey.
Very much.
One of my propellants to acceptance was I woke up one morning and I was hungover and I just went, I really like early mornings as an entrepreneur, especially if I have something creative, a project that I'm working on. I like those early morning hours, 5 to 8 a.m. to just knock shit out on my computer when the world is really quiet. And I don't like losing any length of time to feeling like shit.
Yeah.
I had this, kind of come to Jesus moment. But you know what I mean? It wasn't a real come to Jesus. It's not my thing. Where I just said, this is not serving me anymore. And the further I continue, because I got big fucking dreams, TED Talks and shit like that. Yeah. There are going to be people that come out of the woodwork that go, oh, I have these videos of her being wasted and blacked out and all this stuff. And I wanted to be able to say, that girl did exist. She doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to also see it from the perspective of, I have ADHD and autism, and I'm a very sensitive human being, and I have been taken advantage of my entire life.
Right.
And I have simply been trying to live in a world that is too loud, too noisy, too bright, too smelly, too like just an overwhelming world for my sensory needs and my nervous system. So like, of course I had to drink and smoke cigarettes.
Right. Right. It started for me because I couldn't sleep. I was an insomniac from as early as 6 years old. I think I remember one night NSYNC had come out and I couldn't get the song Bye 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 out of my head. All night long, it was just Bye 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 playing over and over. And I was like, what the like it felt like I was pissed.
Yeah.
And I think, well, just to go real open book here, my mom got addicted to heroin when I was before I even hit double digits. And poor woman, it turns out also autistic and, sexually abused as a child, alcoholic parents, and poor woman never had a chance. And, her and my dad got married and pregnant for the wrong reasons. And, I was I think an attempt to save something that wasn't working. And rather than love and cherish me, I was a threat immediately out of the womb. And I think, I think my brain was just trying to keep me safe and keep me whatever. Like I became her parent pretty immediately in our dynamic. And it was so much pressure. It was so much pressure. Then she was gone and I was my brother's mother and I was like doing all the laundry and taking care of the household at 11 years old. And I never knew that wasn't normal, that was going to take a toll, especially not sleeping. I never knew that we went to therapy. That was the only thing anybody knew was like, get them both in therapy, me and my brother. Mom addicted to heroin, like way before it was as big as it is now. And then, we grew up in very affluent suburban towns. We went to great schools and dad remarried twice over. He's had 2 since. And it was all about just keeping the appearance and the ship moving forward. There was no time to think, no time to wonder if my dramatics were anything but me trying to be annoying. My sensitivity was anything but a bother to everybody else and, whatever. So it was a lot of self-hatred for me. It was a lot of the only way I could sleep. And then, the restaurant industry was the only place I could function in the adult world and get paid. The chaos felt normal. Like an office setting was disastrous for me for a few times over before I found the restaurant industry. And then, I have Pluto, Saturn, the moon, and the South Node in my first house. So I attract a lot of people who, I have to be an uncomfortable mirror for them. And that was in the restaurant industry to a T for me. Lots of very challenging tables all at once. And then I'd get out and it was just like, I was normally dating coworkers, unhealthy restaurant romances and dramatic.
Ask me where I met my husband.
I knew. I didn't even have to ask. Obviously, you guys met in the registry. Obviously.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. So, so alcohol was keeping the ship going. Like I stayed in therapy the whole time and they would say, we just need to address your drinking. You just need to give up drinking. And I was like, I promise you, the alcohol is not the problem. The alcohol is how I'm managing the problem. I promise you that. I said that to therapists over and over and over again. And it never stopped them from putting me on pills for sleep that could have killed me with how much they knew I was drinking. But, it was also the culture in my family. It was the culture with all of my friends. There was no way unless I wanted social exile completely. And that's what wound up happening. But you know what? I'd do it all over again. It was totally worth it. It was totally worth it.
Yeah.
I got myself back,
When it comes to those assholes at your tables that want to run the show, here's what I remember this. This happened probably once every 2-3 weeks, right? If you've never worked in a restaurant before, if you've never been a server before and you've never had a 4 to 8 table section and a slow afternoon, right? Yeah, where everybody gets or like worked a Sunday morning brunch where everybody's exhausted because they worked all day Saturday and then they partied all night Saturday night and the cooks are hungover and the everybody there and you're wondering why your waffle's taking 22 minutes, bitch. Slow down. You want to pick it yourself or you want to calm down? Right. I remember what would piss me off the most as a Taurus sun, Aquarius moon, Taurus rising. I'm all fixed. Trust me. I understand the process. I've perfected the process. I'm really good at what the fuck I do. And I wouldn't be here if I wasn't. Just give me a minute. Let's just trust that there is a system in place here. So every time somebody would try and like run you ragged or, try and spit something out before you were about to say it and that sort of thing. Cause we all have guests like that. I would always get them to a point where they'd be like, oh, well, I had this too. And I would like pull it out from behind me and say, I know, it's almost like there's a system to it, huh? It's almost like, or my favorite thing to say to people was, oh, it's almost like I've done this before.
Right.
It's almost like I know how to do my job, right? Especially because the restaurant I worked at is known for its extensive menu. And,
I have seen
you had to
yours.
know, yeah, you had to know every ingredient in these dishes so that if somebody was going to, order one thing, you go, oh, okay, well, you're a 90-year-old grandma. Do you like spice? Because this meal is spicy, right? We had to what was called tour guiding. So people pretty much knew their head from their ass at this restaurant,
Right.
but it didn't stop anybody from sitting down at your table and acting like you didn't know anything.
Right. Or you'd get the whole table's order and everything would be great. And then the mom at the table would go to each kid and ask them if they really wanted that, if they wanted to change their mind. And you'd be like, Lady, I gotta go. They're adults.
Yeah.
They can make decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to, just to fuck with people, I could tell instantly as an energy healer and an energy reader and a psychic intuitive. I just didn't know I was all those things at the time. I could instantly tell who was the boss of the table. And I can tell people's relationship dynamics. I can tell people, I can look at someone's picture and tell you all this information about them to a scary degree. And I thought that was something everybody could do. So I would intentionally ignore the person that wanted to run the show and I would talk to them last.
Sometimes it was all you could do to get away from the table. Sometimes I have not great luck with therapists. I had one recently that I really liked. She moved on and I'm taking a break because I often find, people who get into that profession in this day and age were pretty book smart and able to, and probably not ADHD and able to, get the degree. And then nobody questions if they're actually able to counsel and do the job, right? And I'll sit there thinking wow, A, this person has nothing to offer me. They have no idea what to say to me right now about the vulnerable thing I presented to them. B, I probably got more psychology training from my restaurant career than they did in any of their, fancy degree work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. I'm a real proponent of somatic therapy for neurodivergent people because it really is physical based, move it through. Don't store the emotions, that sort of thing.
Which
and
none
then,
of them are really trained on or even consider to incorporate.
And the frustrating part about the DSM and traditional psychotherapy is that it's all based on how closely you can behave like a cishet white dude.
Right.
So, my goal is to be the best me possible, right? And it's unfortunate that I can manipulate a scenario because I'm ADHD and I have had to and autistic and I have had to be malleable and a chameleon my entire life to exist and to survive.
Right. Well, going back to the somatic thing, I gotta say, apart from astrology, the thing that I got into super hard at the same time that helped tremendously was yoga. Getting in my body, sweating out so many toxins, developing a relationship with my body in a way that I never had. And then meditation and breath work too. I'm big proponents of all three.
I am a big proponent of rebounding. If at multiple points in the day you can catch me standing outside on my mini trampoline.
I got it.
And when I tell you,
because of you.
Oh my God.
I did.
I am not even usually jumping so much as I am just standing there. And it's like the ultimate stim of your kids in the grocery store when they're rocking around. You're like, I'm just trying to buy the food. Stop moving. It is the best way to just, get the wiggles out. And I'll go out there. Listen, I blend the best of both worlds. I keep my headphones on. I'm scrolling TikTok. I'm answering. I use Marco Polo with all my clients. So I'm listening to their Marco Polos and I'm answering them back. Right. And I'll even alternate between standing in the grass and then going and getting on my trampoline so I can really ground and be outside and whatnot. So I do strongly recommend moving meditation for a lot of my neurodivergent friends, going for a WALK. I can't say the actual word because you know who's here. Oh, but dancing or getting out in your neighborhood and moving around, yoga, stretching if yoga is scary for you. Be careful if you're hypermobile. I am now coming to the realization as an Ehlers-Danlos person that you can have hypermobility and not be super flexible because hypermobility is your joint.
Right.
And there's certain kinds of tissue that it affects.
Right.
And that means that your muscles have to be really, really tight to hold everything in place.
Wow.
So I've never been able to do a split, but my fingers aren't supposed to bend as far back as they do. Right? What are we talking about here? So, and they've also even done research to figure out why we have those T-Rex arms. And that's because it holds your shoulders in place so that they don't fall out of the socket because you're just standing there with your arms down and doing its work. So there's a method to the madness why we do all the things we do as neurodivergent people. And that's really why I like the term neurospicy, because it describes all of those comorbidities
Right.
in a sense of like we're having a good time too.
Right. I mean, and literally, like, I don't know. It's funny in hindsight because all my life I was a like let your freak flag fly kind of person, and I never understood the small talk thing. I never understood why people weren't themselves. I got myself in
Yeah.
so many awful situations, got manipulated so many times because I didn't realize the other person wasn't being genuine back. Like I'm missing cognitive empathy. I've been muscling that my whole life, and astrology helps me fill in that gap in real time. But like it's such an experience, and then all the comorbidities and stuff, and the way our healthcare system is in the United States right now, and like there being no research on women whatsoever, for most of this.
Mm-mm. No. And you know what? I will never understand, and this may make me a shitty person, but I don't fucking care. I don't care about your ADHD or your autistic kid. I want research on grown-ups.
Yes.
I want people to be doing research on the kids, absolutely, but that's not helping me.
Right.
I am a neurodivergent grown-up, and here's the thing, guys. It's pretty genetic is what all the signs are pointing to. So if you're studying, if I think my kid has a neurodivergence, then I can point the finger back at myself and pretty much 99% assume that I have it too.
Right. Well, and look at like we're at a clear turning point in our economic system and our workforce and whatever. What would help all these people? Why not help us get back to work? Why not help us be able to produce and provide? Like knowledge is power. Why you hold it back from us? And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I wonder how.
That's fine. You're welcome here.
I wonder how much of it is the alcohol industry, right? Because, we do have data pointing to alcohol abuse producing.
It's a poison.
Right.
I mean, the one thing that always stands out really, really starkly in my mind is when Jim Carrey was getting all that makeup done to be the Grinch. They brought in like a Green Beret or like a CIA guy, something like that, to help him with like how to get through torture techniques. And so I was like, well, it's literally smoking cigarettes. Okay, restaurant industry.
Right.
It's smoking cigarettes. It's like hitting yourself so that you can focus in on like one area of your body instead of all the other. It's literally being physical, that sort of thing. It's literally everything that an ADHD person does.
Yeah. Right. And
so we could withstand torture because everyday life, if you're not living it the way that you want to be living, is torture. Can you imagine if we had to walk into an office and be like the receptionist every single day and talk to a bunch of people that just didn't and pick up on all that energy and like read their energy and know no, I would not be thriving.
Do it. Well, speaking of, the military and whatnot, a lot of Mars in the military, right? Mars is the god of war. I have Mars as my ascendant ruler conjunct my sun. It was unpacking that planet and understanding that I had more energy that needed to go somewhere constructive than most people, right? I use my mini trampoline less in everyday life than I thought and more in moments of crisis. I've had a few really tough blows in the last couple months since I got it. And that's when I get on it and I'm able to just take all of the anger, like the well of rage, and bounce it out. I put on a song, that fits the emotions and I bounce it out. And I just wonder how many people are in the military because they, like me, have an afflicted Mars that, a well of rage, a well of energy that needs to go somewhere. Okay, like if I don't go into the military, who knows how that'll come out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what my husband's Mars is in. He's in the Navy, but
Oh,
my
really?
Mars is in Capricorn. Yeah, my husband's a Gemini sun. He's a Virgo moon, and he's a Leo rising. And when I tell you, my Venus is in Gemini. I don't ever understand why anybody hates a Gemini. I'm like, just well, you'll ever have a good time.
Can you stop? Time out. You're a Venus and Gemini.
Yeah.
So every man that has ever hit on me in my entire life, Venus and Gemini. Some of my best friends, Venus and Geminis. You people love me. I don't know what it is. My Mercury.
Every man that I dated was a Gemini.
Really? There you go. There we go.
And I can just sniff it out. I'm just like, you are a good time, aren't you? And they're unpredictable.
Yes.
So like you're signing up for some stuff, keeping you on your toes.
Yes.
Keeping you on your toes for real. But I mean, they're going to have a good time.
Yeah. Well, think about Mercury. Mercury's job is to be able to go up to the heavens and then go down to hell and translate all along the way, right? Mercury loves to
Yeah.
go hang out at the biker bar and then go to church on Sunday and tell everybody the
Yep.
stories, right? That's Mercury.
Yes.
And Mercury in Gemini
Yes.
is carefree. Mercury in Virgo, very different story because it's Earth. There are physical consequences too.
Yeah, absolutely. God, it's so interesting. I could just talk about astrology all day long. My youngest son, my 13-year-old, is an Aries sun and a Taurus moon. He has a lot of other Taurus placements. And I tell you, he and I can we can just exist together. Like over this past weekend, my husband and the kids were supposed to go out of town and do this little family thing. I was working, so I couldn't go. But at the very last minute, my 13-year-old was like, I've had a long week. I really just want to not. He was doing this play thing and this whole thing, and they were supposed to leave Friday night. He was just like, my psychic senses were going off, and I was like, do you want to stay home? Because it was kind of like my mother saying, oh, I can just get a couple days by myself. Like, yeah, I do. I just want to say I don't want to go. And I was like, that's cool. You can stay and hang out with me. Because we're both in our headphones. We're both staring at our phones. We're both going to be like, do you want the pizza now or do you want it later? Like, we can just coexist in the environment and like not require anything from each other. And one of my biggest neurospicy things is being perceived all the time, right? So it's not like I want my kids and my husband to leave. Specifically, it's that I just want a couple of hours a day where nobody else is around and I can do whatever the fuck I want to. Like, echolalia and all that kind of shit, just not have anybody else around and feel any sort of responsibility for what they're perceiving.
Yep.
So really getting that figured out with people and getting your work done at the same time is one of those things that's hard to balance too, of like, I have dreams about having my own apartment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been me and my dog for the last 2.5 years. And, my living environment has always been a touchy subject. I've been in a lot of really gnarly ones. This has been the most healing time of my life. And, I often wonder or like panic that maybe one of my neighbors waiting for the elevator right outside my front door can hear me saying the ridiculous shit that I say all day long to my dog. But like, whatever. I just laugh and I'm like, hopefully that encourages whoever can hear me to be more of their own ridiculous, authentic selves. We need alone time.
Yeah.
We're conditioned in this day and age to be go, go, go and like external validation all the time. Even if I am alone, I got to show people on Instagram that I'm enjoying it, right? Like, to me, but I used to be like that when I was drinking. It was a show all the freaking time. Meanwhile, it was so lonely and dark on the inside, but I seemed like a socialite and a party girl.
Yeah. That's one of the roles that we have to play when people see that high energy, that one good or that 2 good days every couple weeks where you're just go, 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 get everything done. You're sparkling, you're amazing, you're fantastic, you're wonderful. We want that every day. Listen, it's fantastic. It's great when Melanie is like that, but that's not possible every day.
Right. Or, yeah, right. It's
not possible every day.
The depth that I fell, like I couldn't get out of bed for nearly a year and it was horrifying. I was like, am I ever going to be okay? Because it was such a stark contrast to who and how I'd always been. And that's partly how I knew it was astrology for me, because it was the only thing that got me out of bed before my dog. And then, the combination of, my dog, astrology, and then learning to love myself through astrology that brought me back to life. And now, service. Service is such a huge piece. I save all my good comments. I read them when I'm low. I have clients that like really are genuinely so appreciative. And that truly has brought me back to life in a way I could have never imagined. And suddenly now I don't want to go back to my old mojo. I'm perfectly content. I don't feel that erratic joy anymore, those high highs that I used to feel. And I'm okay with that. I'm like, oh, well, a really great thing just happened. And I feel pretty neutral. And it's great, because the lows aren't nearly as low as they used to be either.
Yeah, I saw somebody make a TikTok about like 6 things that happened after they got their autism diagnosis. And one of them was they're now cool with being alone and enjoy their alone time without that FOMO that society puts on us of like, no, you have to go do things. You have to be with people. You have to do this. You have to schedule this. You have to go out. You have to, it's like, no, I can stand around my house with my headphones on with a flamingo leg, eating nuts in my kitchen and talking to my fucking dog and have a great Saturday.
Right. Well, and I think I'm the best company, and I don't mean that arrogantly. I'm not the best company for you, but I'm the best company for me. And there's literally no more freeing feeling. I wish everybody felt that way. That is my dream for the world, is that someday everybody feel that way. We got ways
Someday. That's a perfect way to end this. Listen, I could really
I
talk to you
know.
forever, and I am going to ask you when we're done, when we can talk again, so don't worry. So what I'm going to have you do now to get this train back on the tracks, it's like I'm used to working with ADHDers, is I'm going to have you plug your spot, tell everybody how they can follow you, how they can find you, and how they can work with you. And then we're going to do a super fun lightning round of ADHD-like questions.
Perfect. Well, my name is Colleen. I am a neurodivergent astrologer on Instagram. On TikTok, it's neurodivergent astrologer. Somebody had claimed the A on TikTok for some reason. On YouTube, also a neurodivergent astrologer. And then my website is a neurodivergentastrologer.com. I have a bunch of different options for personal readings. I love, love, love to work with clients one-on-one, whether you are neurospicy or not, but I imagine most of your audience is. But I love helping people understand their birth chart better, understand them. So yeah, whether current transits or, down and dirty, just into you. And then we can get to the transits and what's going on now later. Today being pretty exciting. You and I are filming this actually while the moon is on while the moon is on Chiron in Aries, the wounded healer. Aries being my 6th house of health and wellness. So isn't it funny? We're teaching via Chiron about like our own health and wellness strategies. And Jupiter's transitioning into Taurus, which should be pretty exciting for particularly you, both of us actually, for the next year ahead. So yeah, and
Taurus and Scorpio placements. Look at
the whole fixed cross. I mean, with Pluto going back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius until November of 2024, it's a great time to do a consultation with your friendly astrologer of choice. So hit me up.
Absolutely. Okay. Everybody give her a follow. I'm so excited to find out your answers to the lightning round. First and foremost, don't overthink these. It's okay. Just, stream of consciousness. What's your favorite social media platform?
Ooh, I mean, Instagram, I hate it, but I've loved it for so long. So, YouTube. Yeah, YouTube.
That's a first for YouTube. All right, write it down. Oh, fuck, it's just, okay. Number 2, what's the most recent rabbit hole that you have gone down?
Oh, Lord. Oh, that's a hard question. Probably my dog's health. The veterinary industry needs to find Jesus. My brain goes,
they could do better.
God. So yeah. So
my
dog's health.
Also, if your dogs have worms, you need to go ahead and take care of the worms in yourself too, just so that everybody knows. Like, I could talk about parasites all day long. Anyways, neither here nor there. But I hope your dog feels better.
Oh, thank you. She's actually in a pretty good spot right now, but it's just one of those things. Her stomach can't decide if it's healthy or not, and no vet wants to help me figure that out either. So
I'll send you some information on this dog food that I got for mine, and my dogs are now, they've agreed with me, and we've made a deal that they're going to live forever with me. So I'll send you that information.
Please, yes.
It's energetic. Anyways, okay. What is your favorite emotional support show? So like the show that you put on when you can't take on any new relationship.
Oh, God. So I've been off cable for years. I am on YouTube all the time. It would be Schoolie and Van Life's YouTube videos, because that's my dream.
You might know my friend. She has a schoolie that she just got done, and she's driving all around with her kids. I'll send you her information too. 4th question. 2-parter. Have you consumed any water today, and do you want to share your water cup with the class?
I'm drinking it this whole time. Share my water cup with the class?
I like your emotional support cup.
Oh, I'm such a weirdo. Venus and Taurus, I recycle. They're all, peanut butter jars that have gone through the dishwasher that are now, recycle, reuse, people. Save the planet.
It makes me think that you have moon water in that. This is recycled. Somebody left this at the soccer field when I was coaching my kids' soccer a couple years ago. So I bought some stickers on Amazon and put the stickers on it so nobody would know.
All of my favorite sunglasses are sunglasses that people left in restaurants I worked at.
Yeah. No, nobody found any sunglasses in your booth. That's weird. Okay, last question. What is your current dopamine snack and or meal?
Ooh, okay, also very Venus and Taurus. It's dried dates and walnuts.
Oh, so you might be part fairy. You eat like a fairy.
I've been told I eat like a rabbit. Yeah. I'm also on a wicked smoked salmon kick for some reason. I know.
Talk about worms. It's okay. We'll talk about worms later in another show. It's okay. It's okay. So I'm so happy to have had you on the show, and I will invite you back on the show anytime. Don't you worry. And I love you all equally and for different reasons, and we'll talk very soon. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me.